This should be going now. Welcome back to another episode of the Initial F podcast. As you can probably hear and not see, this is a totally different circumstance because I'm currently in a car on our way home from Calgary, and I'm joined here with my uncle, Coach Allen of Fog Women's U18 volleyball.
Sup?
Yeah. So we just had our second premiere. If you don't know anything about club volleyball has these tournaments called premieres, which basically they determine where you sit among other teams in the province. Is that basically how it works?
Yep, you bet. 16 teams per division.
Right. And right now we started in Division 3 and we are staying in Division 3. We basically didn't really move up or down. We just kind of stayed where we started the tournament, right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. And this is going to be coming out, but I did vlog. Well, I should say Keely vlogged a lot more than I did about kind of the whole weekend. So look forward to that when I eventually upload all of that. I don't know whether this is going to go on the Initial F channel if the other guys did something, because I kind of asked them to, because I lost all the footage when I switched over my stuff to the other motherboard, which sucked. And yeah, so how did you think the weekend went?
Well, I think Saturday we kind of had a little bit of struggles. Won our first game. Our second game we should have won, but the team fought back pretty hard. They gave us quite a fight. I think the final score was like 16-14, third set.
Oh yeah, that was was it
SPVC?
Yeah.
Yeah, they they took advantage of our miscommunication, and they had some good swings. You can't knock them. They fought hard, and they were better than us in that game. They took the W.
Yeah. Yeah, our first game was okay. It was a good kind of test to see where we stood. And then the second game, I'd say like 3 out of 4 teams in our round robin we could have beat easily.
Agreed. Yep, absolutely.
But we only were able to go 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
The SPVC game, we got close. In the second set, were we like 2 points off from the second set, right?
Yeah, we were 2 points off.
Yeah, and then we let that slip away, and then we lost in the third set. Yeah. And then the game again, our third game, was actually probably one of our better played games. That first set especially.
Yeah.
All the girls were like pretty. They were all dialed in. They were on fire. Their blocking was great, and that team that we saw in the first set. We lost that first set like 26-24. Right? It was a close set.
Yeah, close set.
And the second set was just not up to the same. And did we even change the lineup that much, or
we did?
Yeah.
We did. Yeah. It was a tough one because losing against SPVC stuck us. We were going to be stuck in a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
For second place. And it became the point spread. So on the SLVC game, we played everybody, because the outcome wasn't going to change, right? The first set, the girls played hard. Everyone was on. Second set, we let that one slip away. It was what it was. Lesson learned there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if we were on to what we could have played on in the first set, I think under different circumstances we could have taken that W.
Yeah. And I think like probably the girls will probably hear this because I'll probably share it on the group chat. I'm sure they won't take it too personally, but yeah, it's a mental game for us. Like you kind of preached the thing of it's not anything about skill, because our team is quite frankly really talented. It's just they get in their heads a lot, and when they get down, they struggle to get back up.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we have coached enough teams to know that the mental game is hard on everybody, right? And right now, our team, solid players, but under certain pressure conditions, I think there's just a fear of letting their teammates down.
Yeah.
Right. And then when they have that fear, it's more like, I'm going to play it safe. We play not to lose. We don't play to win.
Yeah. And that was something was it more different or kind of the same compared to last year's team? Because last year's team was a different set of girls, and a set of girls that really spent almost 2 to 3 years on the same team being together, right?
Yeah, last year we had a lot of veterans, like long-term veterans since U15. So they already had the connection between them.
Yeah.
And we had 1, 2, 3, I think we had four
come back.
4 new players.
Oh, okay.
And they're on our team this year. Those 4 players have grown immensely, skill, maturity, and now they're the anchors, right?
Yeah.
I think last year, I think the mental game, we were a bit better on the mental game. But I think our issues last year was that this year we can run a more advanced offensive system.
Yeah.
Right. And we also have to look at the level of competition we are in. Like in Division 3, we saw EKBC and Lions in a Division 3 semifinal game go to 33 to 31.
Yeah.
On a second set. And
each set is played to best of 3 sets.
Yeah.
In tournament, or the tournament format, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and that skill level, even in Division 3, is very competitive.
Yeah.
Right. And we're able to throw down with those girls, and then those other teams can throw down with us. At the end of the day, it's the chances you take and the risks you take in throwing the body, taking the high risk shot, and you just cannot let up on attacking.
Yeah. So you would rather take like a ball jammed into the net than like a soft tip that'll end up with them throwing it down our throat?
Absolutely. Well, and we saw it, right?
Yeah.
When you saw it on our men's team too.
Yeah.
And men's team is the consequences are dire, right? And even for ours, if someone gives us a free ball, our middles can basically hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And it almost happened. And it almost happened, right?
Yeah.
And that is a harsh consequence. And that is sports. You give a team an inch, and then they will score points. And when we work really hard to avoid the free ball situation, and the girls have worked really hard to ensure the third contact is tactical versus a flub.
Yeah.
Right. So, but for sure this year competition is way stiffer.
It really seems that way. Like, no offense to last year's team, but I think this year's team, it has much more skill and talent. Yeah. Like it's no knock to last year's team, because we went pretty far last year and we definitely had a good run. It was but just comparing it to this year, it seems like a whole nother,
it's a different level. Yeah.
It kind of surprised me when we had that first scrimmage with the alumni and this current team.
Yeah.
When they tied the sets like 2 apiece.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that this year's team is much stronger at offensive wise than last year's.
Yeah. Yeah. Like last year's team, we had a strong team last year. This year, when we were recruiting, we really looked at a more aggressive middle position and offensive position on the middles, and we were very fortunate to pick up some talent.
Like crossing over the line. You see that, and the Bronco in front of it?
Yeah, no doubt. He's drunk. All right, but when we did recruiting, we were very fortunate to pick up a lot of talented ladies that had firepower, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're very lucky this year.
Yeah, and like all of them are really well rounded. Like we only have one player that's playing up, right? Playing up a skill level.
Yep.
That's our secondary setter.
Yep, our S2, yeah.
Which was exactly like our situation last year because Alexis was also playing up, right?
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. and you know, for speaking of our setter, she grew immensely last year. She got trialed by Fire, and we gave her some big games, and you know, she came through, and this year she is solid.
Yeah.
Right. You know, we put a lot of pressure on her to perform, giving her a lot of big tasks, a lot of hand signals to memorize, and you know, she's doing really well. Even our secondary setter, you know, still growing, still learning, but the beauty with our secondary, she doesn't want to stop learning. And last game today, she shined. She put it all together.
Yeah, it was really good because our first day, we went 1-3, but today, Sunday, to determine whether we dropped down to Div 4 or stayed in Div 3, we won all 3 games, and we ended up right where we started.
Yeah, and you know, for a lot of teams coming back from a really rough Saturday, a lot of teams don't recover from that emotionally.
Yeah,
right. The good with this team is that we have a lot of girls that are positive and really want to see each other succeed. So, you know, they had a nice talk at the end of yesterday's after our crossover.
Yeah,
and that was productive, and it was a risk for the coaches to take, to tell them, okay, you guys figure it out. And we do risk the fact that if the girls are very discouraged or very upset about losing that crossover, it could have really imploded,
right,
and wrecked the team. But again, we got strong leaders, not only on our captains, we got strong captains, but we got strong athletes that really, you know, put more glue in that bond of the team, you know.
Yeah, and like this doesn't really work for like men's team. Well, I would say high school men's teams, especially for what we coach.
Yeah,
in Div 3 and in the high school scene, because they just have, you know, a bunch of egos. They kind of play for themselves more than the team.
Yeah.
So if we were like to set a challenge for like a high school men's team that wasn't like Div 1 or Div 2, they would probably not be as productive in that. They would just probably just stay like silent.
Yeah,
you know. But with our girls, they like each other. Like that's another thing that I have noticed since coaching with you, is that we have a really great like culture with our team. Like no drama, no sort of ego that gets in the way. Like there are small arguments, but more or less they resolve themselves. They resolve it themselves.
Yeah, for sure. Our program, we run a program where we interview the girls like a job interview, and we look at them emotionally, and we make sure that all the cards are on the table. This is what we expect. This is the type of system we work with, and we're basically flat out told them before signing that if they cause drama, they're punted.
Yeah,
you know. And we have good coaches too. We all see different things, and we know how to handle things. And the fact that since we have good coaches, 3 to 4 good coaches, you know, we can delegate one coach for 3 girls, and right there's a lot of growth. Yeah. And we get to connect, and then they're not scared to talk to us if there's any issues. Like even today, a very minor issue about strategy.
Yeah.
One of our athletes approached us, and they're like, yeah, you're absolutely exact, good idea. Went with it. Why? Because she approached us, was very honest, made good points, acted like an adult. That's a win.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you also brought up another thing, is that our team is too nice.
Yeah.
Our team is too nice, and in the way that when it's the final, we're at like game point or match point, we have trouble trying to finish the game. And even though it's like 1 point, 1 point could be a whole 30 seconds, you know.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to one of a co-coach, a fellow I coached with, a hit volleyball. A super good man. He's from a different club, but he supports coaches, and he said to me, "Oh, I love your team, a lot of talent." But he said, he says, if I can give you a little bit of feedback, he says, you guys are too nice. And I said, hey, that is not a criticism. I said I take it as feedback.
Yeah.
And I'll take it back to the team. You know, and nice is awesome. But when we play competitive sports, we got to turn off nice once in a while.
Yeah.
And go out there and get it. And I think today, specifically at our second last game, when we were playing to fight for that last point, I was very happy to see the claws come out and really dig in and go for that kill shot. You know, so yeah, really proud of the girls today and how they not only we stayed in the same position, I think, on our division, but I think the growth there, specifically today, we had a lot of really good breakthroughs.
Yeah, I would say so. Like some of the girls that maybe like struggling a little bit in game, that might not struggle so much during practice, they're starting to show a little bit. And granted, it is still early in the season. Like how many more weeks till our next premiere?
We got 3.5 more weeks to our next premiere. We have 8.5 to 9 weeks left to the end of our season. We have 3 more very big tournaments left.
Yeah,
and we are on schedule on our training plan.
Yeah, so yeah, it's still really early in the season, and like the growth we're seeing from them, even from like day one in like December, when we started training, like they've just grown so much, and it's really, really awesome to see. Right?
Yeah. And we formed the team in June.
Yeah.
Right? We only had very little time to kind of be together because we weren't really allowed to practice. Right? We did our best to keep in contact with them throughout the summer in our group chat, but yeah, it was actually quite nice after our school season to come together with the girls, because you know, it's a different level of commitment, different level of skill, and then there's a different level of the team feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so what's our goal for these next few weeks, basically?
So our big goals for the next few weeks, so leading to Premier 3 to Provincials, is fine-tuning our offensive system. Right? Super glad the girls are working the X now, right? We're just going to be fine-tuning the X. We're going to start running the right and the left X's now. We are obviously going to work on a bit more of blocking strategies, right? And then going on to eventually, after Premier 3 to prepare for Provincials, we'll be doing team-specific strategies. So we already have a lot of video on our opposing teams. So we'll be starting to train like, you know, this is a plan for team this, or we're going to be doing this for this team. And we actually did that last year, right? We started doing training against some really tall girls. So we brought in some of our the coaches to be the middles to actually start simulating certain tendencies of other teams.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, just fine tuning the skill sets here, and just getting our tacks ready. Because again, all the other teams that we're facing, they're getting better too. So
right.
Yeah, we got to get up there.
Yeah, like even the competition from all the other teams we faced, like I can only imagine how good like the D1, D2 teams are, you know, for especially like women's volleyball too. Like they must have some crazy good skills, because we have a lot of talented athletes. Like a lot of them they got invited to a showcase.
Yes. Right? Yes.
So what does that entail? Like what is that showcase?
So a showcase is basically like a camp where selected athletes are invited to come to try out for the NCAA and some U Sport and ACAC leagues in college, right?
So they can get like a scholarship from that.
You bet, yeah. So when we won Bronco Bash, there was a scout there.
Right.
And the scout saw our girls, and he called me up a few days later and said, "Hey, I'd like to invite your girls to the showcase."
Like all of them?
All of them, yeah.
All of them. Wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah, and he said that there'll be at least 50 schools there, mostly NCAA Division 2, Division 3 schools, but there were 2 Division 1 schools, which was Nebraska and Stanford. Those are the top 5 teams in the U.S. Big Ten schools.
Yeah.
And the girls went out there and showed their skills, and the recruiters had a chance to look at them and take some names and make some connections.
That's good. Yeah, that's really impressive. For even like for us too, like we're obviously super proud of them. Even with our limited, I guess, time with them, yeah, they've been able to grow so much that they've actually been noticed by that one scout.
Yeah, and also a few of our other girls are training right now with some of the colleges in the city for possible opportunities after the club season, because they're not allowed to talk to they can't negotiate offers until end of club season.
Oh,
but our girls are training with some colleges to create opportunities to play with them after graduation of high school.
That's good. Shifting gears, I know you are a big fan of NCAA women's volleyball.
Yes, sir.
You are the fan of now, if I remember correctly, it's the Huskers, not the Huskies.
No, the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Right. So how would you feel if like one of our girls were to go to Nebraska and play for the Huskers?
I would be ecstatic. Their head coach, John Cook, one of the best coaches in the country, probably in the Western Hemisphere. A lot of coaches mimic his play style, his coaching style. We actually use the Nebraska offensive system.
Okay, so
right?
they run their system
exactly like us.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I copied it, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very aggressive system. And well, like as you saw today, if the girls can pull it off, it is very aggressive.
Yeah, and especially like yesterday too, on our third game, was it? Or no, it was our last game.
Our crossover, yeah.
Crossover game where we just demolished the opponent 25-11, was it?
Yes, 25-11.
25-11. We don't need to talk about the other two sets because they just didn't show up for that. But yeah, what we saw was a really impressive, really high octane, high offense team that's able to put balls down on the court.
Yeah, like the offensive system we use, which is in Nebraska, I think Texas and Wisconsin uses as well. Again, it works if we're aggressive. It works when there is a laser focus on success and engaging the ball. And the first set showed it. Right, the girls were laser focused on a goal, and the score showed it. Unfortunately, sometimes, when you do take the foot off the gas, specifically in that type of offensive system, when we do take off the gas, we do leave gaps in our defense because we commit so many attackers in one shot that some of our people, specifically our defenders, have to take up more court.
Right.
And when we're not attacking, we open ourselves up to some pretty significant, gaps in our defense, right? And it showed. One of us got hurt.
Yeah.
Right, because of just the how much exertion you have just to cover a very large part of court to make up for missing players on the attack.
Yeah. So how long have you been like a fan? When did you start like watching NCAA like women's volleyball?
I started watching a long time ago, man. Oh, so long ago. It's mostly YouTube until the Big Ten network finally came to Canada. And again, thanks to YouTube, you can kind of watch the older games.
Yeah.
But I was always a fan, but since there was no heavy network, I couldn't really commit a lot of good time to it. But now, yeah, totally. You can still, but back then you can just follow Nebraska when their games were just 3-4 weeks later, and some of the big ones. But now you can just Google, any D1 team, you can watch their games. It's so good.
Which state was the team? Which state was the one that held the outdoor game?
That was Nebraska.
That was Nebraska with was it 15,000?
It was
50,000.
It was 50,000.
50,000.
That was a world record.
It was in their stadium, wasn't it? For the football stadium.
Yes, right.
And yeah, the fact that they could pack out what's equivalently an NFL size stadium for How big is a volleyball court?
For 9 by 18 meters.
9 by 18 meters. So if you do the math, that's pretty small in comparison to a football field. 50,000 people coming out and packing the stadium to watch one game of volleyball.
Yeah, think about it. In the CFL, we have 100 meters, right?
Yeah.
Between goalposts. Well, a volleyball court's only 18 meters, so it's basically two downs.
Yeah,
right.
It's 2 downs, and like I went to watch the Heritage Classic at Commonwealth Stadium, right? And even that was pretty hard to see when you're in those nosebleeds. So I can only imagine how you would have to have like a periscope or a telescope to see what was going on down there.
Yeah, they had these massive screens, these massive LED, LCD screens.
Yeah,
but still, when you're that far back, you need binoculars.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, so yeah, that's really impressive for women's volleyball.
Yeah. So how long have Adriana and Alex been playing volleyball for?
Alex,
weren't we the ones that kind of helped them introduce?
Yeah, so
introduce them.
So Alex was playing volleyball. Started playing grade 6.
So when she was like 12.
Yeah, Adriana wasn't into it until
she got hit in the chest.
So she got hit in the chest, and that was yours. But she started playing officially in grade 7. Right, and then when Adriana was in grade 8, Alex was in grade 7. Then Alex joined club, and then a year after that, Adriana joined club.
And so you became a coach for Alex's team.
No, I supported Alex's team. I knew the coaches.
Okay.
But I didn't want to coach. And then what happened was that Adriana's U15 team, they had a coach, but they needed a coach. So I reluctantly took the reins to do it. And they just kind of said, here. I'm like, whoa. But they needed the help, so I reluctantly did it. And then at U16, they just gave me they already gave me the reins to the team. So I took it. I already coached before in the past, so I just asked yourself and Joe and Garrett all come back together and let's just do it.
Yeah,
we've been successful.
Yeah. So yeah, how long have you been coaching for?
Well, I coached a men's team way back even before I was married. Right, I played. But I also assistant coached in the University of Calgary, and then I did some coaching before married. But then when the kids came, I stopped coaching. I stopped playing.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah. And then when the kids got back into it, and when you guys got into it, just came natural to come back. Right.
Yeah. 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 I never really liked volleyball when I was in like elementary, because of course it just hurts your arms, especially with the shitty old touchy cover balls.
Oh yeah.
But then I just tried out for it in grade 9, because that year I just wanted to be like, I want to try out for every sport other than like curling. And I tried out for every sport and I made every team. And then volleyball was just the one that kind of I just like followed with for quite a while. And then watching the anime Haikyuu was the one that really solidified my reason of wanting to play. So, yeah.
It's a good sport. You know, any sport when you're young, specifically in school sports, you learn a lot. You know a lot of good life lessons. It teaches you coping skills.
Yeah.
Right. And we had coaches that made us want to be coaches, and we hope that somewhere down the line we had athletes that we coached that we could aspire to be coaches.
Yeah.
Right. We always talk about to the girls about giving back and making sure that the reason we coach isn't about us. It's about the kids and how to make the kids successful in life.
Right.
So yeah, and I think about it, Jay. You and I have had 4 times 12 over 120 kids go through our program.
Yeah.
In short years, including our high school kids. That's a lot of kids.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right. So and the thing is, like, specifically with us, we don't really have issues of recruiting, right?
Yeah.
People already know who we are.
People want to like come play for us. Like,
Yeah.
like even was it 2 years ago where one of the athletes came up to you from a different club
Yep.
and they wanted to come practice with us
Yep.
because they didn't like their team,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Right. And yeah, and even we had even before our trials this year, we had that girls that were in another club that had some unfortunate team issues and they had to leave their team, and they just called us up. They knew what was up, right? So because the athletes nowadays, they know what's going on. Like they know about the coaches, they know about reputation of coaches, and even for us, look at some of the younger kids we coach. We have a U16 that plays for a different club. She still trains with us.
Yeah.
Right. Super brilliant kid. Super proud of her. I think they're in Div 2 now.
Oh, that's good.
But she's trying up Team Alberta, and wish her the best of luck. She's like super talented kid, and she's even asking if we're back next year for U17, she'll offer to play for us. I mean,
Really?
yeah, it's crazy. But again, that's the culture we create.
Yeah.
We're lucky we create a pretty good culture that people actually like.
Yeah. I guess let's get into one thing that you might be like more passionate about. Not that you aren't passionate about volleyball, but like you like Star Wars, or that's an understatement. You love Star Wars.
Love Star Wars.
You love Star Wars.
Love it.
What is the appeal of Star Wars? Because I never really got into it.
Appeal of Star Wars. It's a childhood story. I was an immigrant, young kid, 4 years old, 79. First came to Canada. Never exposed to anything really. And one of the first movie I ever saw as a kid, as in just a young immigrant kid in Edmonton, was Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right. And very impressionable movie for kids. I was taken by good versus evil, the brave knight, the wise man, the young, and when it's your first big introduction to a bigger world, right? And it just hooked, right? Because as a kid, new to a country, you look to something to be part of, so Star Wars became just that. It's something to talk about in school that everyone's seen.
Yeah.
Made you be, kind of have someone to talk to about it, and because it's really cool. And you have toys to collect.
Yeah.
It's great.
How big was Star Wars when it first came?
It was huge. It was so huge.
Huge.
Because back in the 70s, a lot of the movies were a lot of Vietnam movies, or a lot of depressing,
post-war kind of.
Yeah, post-war, or something really depressing like On Golden Pond, or sappy love stories, but nothing. Because we talked about stuff like civil rights, all the stuff that sometimes people just don't want to go. They want to go to a movie to think about something else.
Yeah.
Right. So Star Wars came in at a perfect time where people wanted to be inspired to be better. Right. And the success of Star Wars was because it came up in a time where people needed that. They needed that something else to look forward to than this messy world. Because even back in the 80s, we were dealing with OPEC, the oil, the gasoline, the oil prices,
right,
all that garbage. And the 80s were depressing. Low job, very little jobs, people getting laid off.
Yeah.
Star Wars was an escape. And it was good for me. I mean, something to look forward. And part of what I am today was because of Star Wars. Right.
So where did you watch it? Because 1980 was it 19? It was the mall built in 1980?
No, it wasn't. I saw
earlier or
no,
after.
The mall was built out in the late 80s.
Late 80s.
I actually saw Star Wars at a movie called the Paramount.
Oh, because the Mindbender accident happened in 85.
Was it 85?
I'm pretty sure it was 85.
85, 86. Yeah, no, the mall wasn't built when I first saw Star Wars. I remember because I saw it in downtown Edmonton called the Paramount. I think the mall was built in 85, 84, 83, around there. I forget. But I think even back then the mall had a theater, but
81.
Was it 81?
81, yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that must have been just phase one.
Yeah, it must have been phase one.
Yeah. But Yeah, no. I don't think I saw a movie in West Edmonton Mall until the 90s. Because back then, the place to be was Paramount Theater downtown Edmonton. Like, that was the cat's ass when it came to watching movies.
I'm guessing it's still not around it.
It's no longer around, no. Got knocked down.
How low were the ticket prices back then?
$2.50, you can stay all day.
That's crazy.
For real, like I would go there, and I would me and my dad would go there, and we would just hang out.
Yeah.
And then he liked movies too, so because back then too they would play like Superman and Star Wars like back to back.
Yeah.
Because they would alternate the movies and stuff, and they wouldn't kick you out, so you could actually see 2 movies for 1 price ticket. Yeah, it was awesome.
So like how
It was cheap.
it was cheap, yeah, but they just played it on the same screen after, or
Yeah, because it was like a film thing.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so they had these machines that would preload it. So Star Wars would play, and at the end of Star Wars, the lights would not go on, right? And what would happen would be the lights would just, you would have this thing on the screen that kind of just said, kind of intermission or whatever.
Yeah.
And then within 15 minutes, the next movie would start, and you'd have 1 or 2 little previews, and then off you went. Yeah, it was a different time.
So what are your favorite movie? What is your favorite movie, man?
Oh,
That isn't Star Wars.
that isn't Star Wars?
Well, I guess I should ask, what is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Well, my favorite Star Wars movie was obviously the original, Episode 4, A New Hope. One of my, again, a lot of emotional attachment to that movie. Other than Star Wars, Aliens, another great movie. Love it. No, I pretty much know all the lines to it.
Aliens. What is that one?
Aliens?
What you say it's like about aliens and stuff.
Yeah, George Cameron. So it was the second movie after the Ridley Scott 1978, I think, movie called Alien.
Yeah, the xenomorph.
Yeah, the Xenomorph, and then James Cameron took over Aliens, which is the second movie.
Okay.
Yeah, and Aliens was a movie I saw with a lot of my friends at the time, volleyball players,
Yeah.
and it was so good.
So is there multiple xenomorphs in that movie?
Yeah, tons. Like a whole colony is overrun by aliens.
Oh wow.
And another great James Cameron flick. Second best movie, one of my favorite, is Terminator by James Cameron.
Yeah.
It was even on this morning on AMC at the hotel.
Yeah.
Other than that, other movies I would really liked. That really stuck out. Indiana Jones, another big one. I like that one. Jaws.
All the big 80s movies.
Oh yeah, Top Gun. Another great movie.
Yeah.
Right. One of my other favorite, which is A Quiet Sleeper, with The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis. Another good one, and also Clash of the Titans, the old 1980s show with Harry Hamlin, I think was his name at the time. It was low budget, but it was actually quite good. And then
Is that based on like Greek mythology?
yeah, it was based on the voyage of Perseus, the Kraken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that where the famous like release the Kraken quote came from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then another one of my favorite movies was Dune, 1982, I think.
So there was like a Dune before
The current one.
the
yeah.
current one.
Yeah.
What did you think of the current? I haven't seen anything from Dune.
So I was when I was a kid, again growing up as an immigrant kid in Canada, I read a lot. I had no friends.
Yeah.
I was a very visible minority, picked on a lot, etc. So I read a lot of books. I read J.R.R. Tolkien. I read Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, The Hobbit, etc.
I tried to get into Lord of the Rings, like J.R.R. Tolkien, and
Yeah,
it was too slow for me.
it's a hard read.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back then there was nothing else.
Right.
So yeah, I read it. Well, I also read Frank Herbert, which is Dune.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like, it was so good. So another one of my favorite books. And when the movie came out by Dino De Laurentiis, really good. Had to watch it. Of course, it deviated from the source material.
Yeah.
But it was, in a nutshell, it was like the first book, and I really, really enjoyed it. The current Dune, I was able to watch the first Dune, the first of the trilogy, through Netflix, and then we were lucky. Just a few weeks ago, I got movie passes to watch. So me, Universe, and Alex, we went to
Dune 2.
to Dune 2.
Yeah.
Amazing, loved it. Obviously the new one is stuck more true to the source material. And it is a really good commentary on what's happening today, which I really enjoyed. And I as much as I love Marvel, it was good to see that the main character can be a dick. Like, he was a cold, calculating bastard at the end of the movie, and and you gotta love it. Right. And where and in the 70s, women and being an independent woman was not a thing. Right. And in this one, you had two women characters which were very strong, and very one was very devious, almost to the point where she was willing to sacrifice thousands of lives to get what she wanted. But then you have another female, which is more than happy to discard religion and beliefs of her culture to deal with the current threat to her planet, which was a harsh departure from the books, where the women were very submissive and they just became concubines. So it was quite good. You got to sit through it. It's a hard sit, but it's really good.
How long are the current movies?
So the current movie, the Dune 2, is an hour and 30 something minutes.
Oh, so not too long then.
And then the first one was an hour and 20.
No,
but a lot of material, I had a lot of thinking. It was so good.
Yeah. And then, like, going back to your fondness of the cold, calculated killer, the main character, right? I introduced you to this anime called Death Note.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Like, before that, you never really watched like much anime before, right?
No, my big animes were the young ones. Gundam was my big one.
Gundam, yeah.
Right? Because that was available.
Yeah.
Right? Gundam, Dirty Pair, Appleseed. But the one what you showed me was nothing that I've seen.
Yeah, Death Note. Death Note's like a fan favorite among.
Yeah. I remember I finished it in the hotel.
Yeah, you finished it all in one day.
In Lloyd.
All, was it 26 episodes?
Yeah.
Or no, it was 36 actually. All 36 episodes.
Yeah. Because we saw like a whack of episodes driving there.
Yeah.
And then at the nighttime, I just watched a shit ton of episodes.
Yeah.
But it was really well written. If you think about it, this is I guess, kid or a young adult type show, and it was dark, man.
Yeah.
Like it was in a lot of ways it was almost messed up.
Yeah.
Right? Because the guy was like, "Oh, just kill her." I'm like, "Oh, wow." Right? Like I think it was the first the inspector, right? That he whacked.
FBI.
Yeah, and then his wife was just. I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Where did that come from? But you got it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you understood why, but it was like, oh man, that's messed up. But you can't not watch the next episode because he likes to calculate so many steps ahead. Right? And who was that guy, the cop? M? Was it M?
L.
That was just another level of weirdness. Right? So, but again, really good. And I'm glad it ended.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It had a beginning and an end. No part 2, part 3, and it was just a really good, well-written, drawn-out story.
Yeah, I quite like Death Note as well. It's really, really interesting. Like that psychological like thriller, and the fact that like the main character is not the stereotypical like good guy. He's kind of more of like an anti-villain.
Yeah,
rather than like a hero.
Yeah. And there's appeal to that because you actually feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah.
So you're basically not attached, but you're what's the word for it? You're
like kind of rooting for him, but at the same time you're like, it's kind of messed up, but he's likable. Like he's very charismatic.
Yeah, you relate to him in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, speaking of anime. Right, I got into the the Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then today, this weekend, you were watching The Last Airbender, the cartoon.
I started because I like to, I don't know, when I go for like training for my dealership training, brand training basically, I like to like download stuff that I might not have seen and stuff that I'm like kind of interested in. So I thought like since like the Avatar, the live action came out, I should just start watching the original like cartoon.
Yes.
And because that is a cartoon that I haven't watched and a lot of people have watched and that is like a big part of their childhood.
Yep.
Right. And you said it was like a big part of yours too, right?
Yep, it was. But my problem was when I grew up, there was 8 channels.
Yeah.
There was no Teletoon and all that stuff. So Avatar: The Last Airbender was, believe it or not, and so was actually Macross, the Macross series.
Yeah.
It was on, believe it or not, CTV.
Oh yeah.
It was on CTV, and it was on the most messed up hours ever. It was like Sunday morning from 6 to 7:30.
Yeah.
Right. So there was the big one was there was 3 shows. The last Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was never ever, I don't think was any sort of order.
Yeah.
Astro Boy.
Oh really?
Astro Boy, remember him? And then of course Macross.
Yeah.
And every Sunday I used to watch that, and it was really good. The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I don't think it was because I think too back then, specifically with Macross, I'll just use Macross as an example. I'm a big Macross fan. But what happened back then was that Macross was such a global hit from Japan that a company called Harmony Gold bastardized Macross,
right,
and turned it into a Robotech to sell toys.
Yeah.
Right.
Good old American capitalism.
I know. They turned the show to shit because what they did was there was 3 big segments or generations of Macross, now called Robotech. Back it was Macross, which is Musclepedia, or SDF1, or Super. So it's called Super Fortress Macross in Japan, but it was just called Robotech. Yeah. In the U.S. Then the second one was called Robotech: The Southern Cross, but in Japan it was called Macross Southern Cross, and then in America the third one was Robotech Musclepedia, and then in Japan it was called Macross. Was it called the Robotech Master? No, it was called something else. Yeah. But since the Americans didn't want the Japanese style of the soap opera love stories or longing arcs of storylines, they effed up a lot of the deeper meanings of why war is so bad, and they talked about colonialism. There was a lot of deep shit in there for a kid show back then, and they took it all out. Yeah. And it just became an avenue to sell toys. So as I got older, like when I was in university, the videos came out, not the American ones, but the Japanese ones that were subtitled. Yeah. And then you got to enjoy it in its glory, and it was awesome, just awesome.
Yeah, that's what I kind of don't agree with like some like American, I guess, type anime, is that they kind of focus on how much money they can make rather than how much story they can put in. Because that's kind of exactly what happened to like Pacific Rim. Yes. Right? Because Pacific Rim is, I think, one of my favorite movies because, well, the CGI is just that good. The storytelling is kind of meh, but like the mecha fights against the kaiju and just the CGI effects of everything, it was really good. Like, I didn't expect much from it when going in, but I was really impressed coming out. Yeah. And when they made the sequel to it, they just kind of ruined it. You know, they how do I put this? They
They North Americanized it.
Yeah, they North Americanized it because the past director wasn't there anymore.
No.
He wanted to make a sequel, but he, I think, was tied up with something else.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just took away all of the charm that the original had, because they made most of like the Jaeger fights during the day, whereas that's contrasted to most of the Jaeger fights in the original Pacific Rim to be at night or in the dark. Like there was probably one scene where a Jaeger was fighting during the day, and that was like Striker Eureka's like what do they call it? Striker Eureka's debut, basically.
Oh, right, when they were fighting on Australia.
Yeah, in Australia. That's like the only time where they showed a Jaeger fighting during the day, and otherwise it was all during like the night.
And it worked.
And it worked because it drawed
it draws attention to the Jaeger. It takes everything else out.
Yeah, and it also hides the blemishes of the CGI there.
Yeah.
But in the new one, they made it way too high-tech, way too human, almost. Like, you can tell it was kind of made with mocap.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because with the original Pacific Rim, like, each blow, each step the Jaeger took, it had its own weight.
It had mass.
It had mass. And that's something that the original was, or the sequel was lacking a lot of. A lot of realism, basically, was taken out.
Yeah, and the way that, I guess, when we do Asian stories about Jaegers and kaijus, there's I think for them there's a lot of humanity to it. There's usually a moral lesson, which is kind of like a lot of Asian movies are about there's a human statement to it, or a moral lesson to it.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes when a North American company tries to make it their own, they throw out the charm of some of those movies that we enjoy so much.
Yeah, I think why a lot of people don't really give anime a lot of credit is because they kind of grew up with animation being kind of thought with like American cartoons is basically what their image of animation is.
Yeah, it's Tom and Jerry.
Like Tom and Jerry, SpongeBob, like all the kid shows that, you know, it's all that. But when like stuff like Death Note comes out, or even like Attack on Titan comes out, where it's like a really long story with like gore and blood and like all that, like people are kind of surprised to even like consider that this is anime, or this is like their equivalent of like what they're seeing is cartoons, basically.
Oh yeah, for sure. And because we don't expect that in cartoons in North America, that we think something mindless, but to some people that it's a really good way to share a vision of a story. Right. Like there was one of the biggest breakthrough animes that came to North America that me and my friends totally glommed onto. It was Megazone 23.
Never heard of it.
It is the pinnacle anime that came to the US, and it actually, I think the story was it came to the US by accident.
Oh really?
And not illegally. It came to the US by accident because some dude who was either in Japan or something like that, he went to watch a movie, and he saw this. And you know, Japan, they have like this 30-mile high friggin' billboards. And there was Megazone 23.
Yeah.
And in Japan, it was crazy. Like it was one of the most, I would say controversial, but it was called Coloring Out of the Lines of this time. And it was gory, but the story was amazing. And this guy saw it and he said, "Holy shit, I got to bring this to America." And he brought it, but he didn't want, you know, English actors, and he just wanted subtitle. And it became such an underground hit that eventually the company who did it kind of not redid it, but they kind of translated verbatim,
Okay.
and it was actually, you can Google it.
Like the original studio
Yeah,
did it
yeah,
for them.
yeah. Google it. Megazone 23.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's one of the best, my favorites, and also you know which one it is. Ghost in the Shell, the first Ghost in the Shell.
Right. Yeah.
Those were the two pinnacle animes that made anime in North America what it is today. Like those were the ones that were, I think, to me, pushed the anime into not in mainstream, but it got to more people like that, that like the story. Because Megazone 23 was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy, right? Because I think Megazone 23 was one of the first cartoons in North America that actually had cartoon characters drinking alcohol and consuming narcotics.
Really.
Right? It was that, we're like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't think of SpongeBob drinking like a whole pint of beer, you know?
No, or doing a line of coke, right?
Yeah.
Or for real, right? And in Megazone 23, there was guys drinking coke, and they were drinking alcohol, and they were like blood and guts everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Because back then, Gundam was already established as a kid favorite, right? But Gundam was designed for kids. A lot of robots fighting.
Yeah.
It was only until Gundam got really more mature when they started doing the stories like Unicorn and a lot of the War in the Pockets. They call them War in the Pockets, so they're like the little mini stories.
Yeah. Right.
But initially, Gundam was just a 30 minutes of a robot fighting other robots, which is awesome, right? But if you wanna sink your teeth into old school anime, Megazone 23, it is so dope.
I might have to check that one out. That say was really interesting.
If you look at, actually, if you've seen pictures of my office, on top of my PC, there is the hover bike, the bicycle, the motorcycle that Megazone 23.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's where that bike came from.
Huh.
Right, so yeah, anime has been, it's to me, and if you look at how much it costs to make an anime, the budget to make a high-end anime is like a quarter of a Hollywood movie.
Yeah. It takes a lot of money. Like, people are they're kind of blind to the fact that anime does take a lot to make.
Yep.
Like, not only like money-wise, but time-wise as well. And that when there's a bad kind of episode, like say like the animation quality kind of dipped a little bit, they always kind of blame the budget when really the budget isn't the problem. It's like the scheduling of it.
Yeah.
Because like the work culture in Japan is really not good. Like, it's really toxic. Like, because
yeah,
I've heard like a whole bunch of like horror stories that they work, I don't know, like 16 hours a day, go home, go back to work 16 hours. Like, it's just straight work. Like, they have no time for any social activities or even for themselves, which is kind of why like the birth rate in Japan is declining.
Yeah.
Is that they just simply don't have enough time to do anything.
Yeah. Wasn't Dragon Ball Z that one where they produced so much Dragon Ball Z? Right? Remember that show?
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z is still popular, yeah.
Yeah, but that was wasn't that one of the shows that was highlighted as in they couldn't make enough Dragon Ball Z to satisfy the fans?
I don't think Dragon Ball Z fans will ever be satisfied with anything, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, there were just some fandoms that even if they get like however many episodes they want, they still just want more.
Yeah.
And like they're just like impatient about it as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Because people might be just like wanting like a season 2, but if like the studio rushes that season 2 and then it hurts kind of the legacy of the anime, people will just like kind of forget it, right? Like, it won't be as big to them as it might have been if like they waited and put actual time and effort into making the animation and the story like more fleshed out and like just up the quality of it.
Yeah. I think that's why also Game of Thrones was so successful in North America,
Right.
Because they didn't care about the shooting schedule or when it needed to air. They just aired when it was ready.
Yeah.
Right. Have you seen any of the Godzilla anime in Netflix?
No, I haven't.
Because it's Godzilla 1, 2, and 3. They're not connected.
Yeah.
But it's actually not bad, right? Because they don't even have Godzilla on Earth anymore. It's like It's weird, but it's actually good. You know, check it out. It's not bad.
Yeah. Anyways, I think this will do for this episode. Thank you a lot for being my partner on this.
All good.
Also for going back to the hotel, because I thought I forgot the mics in the hotel, but I really didn't, and it was actually in the car and it was hiding. So yeah, that was a little bit of a scare, but we got it.
Hey, as long as we got it back, right? Because
Yeah,
it's still
this stuff's important, isn't it?
yeah.
But yeah, you can listen to us on Spotify, YouTube. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok as well. And if you haven't watched Gerard's oil change video, you should go watch that, because it's pretty funny, pretty fun. Anyways, anything else you want to say?
No, thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you. Bye.